Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week, ladies and gentlemen, Desiree Simone, AKA the Boozy Bestie. Desiree is the host of the Break Bottles, Not Hearts podcast. This episode is a blast. We are drinking in this episode. We are talking about drinking throughout the episode. Desiree reveals how Jägermeister led her to discover that she was bisexual. We talk about how tacky and gross couples who create joint social media accounts are, how people who create accounts for their dogs are kind of cringy too. We're getting into the dating apps. What does she feel about the dating apps? Good, bad, evil, indifferent, right? At the end of the episode, Desiree talks about her experience at a sex club that fans of this show might recognize. If you're driving, put on your helmet because this is my conversation with Desiree Simone.
This week's conversation.
Desiree Simone, AKA the Boozy Bestie. Welcome to Sex Party. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm sober. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I think we might be able to do something about that in this episode. I have poured. The YouTube viewers can see there's a triple Tito's and just Tito's. She has a double barrel aged poison. I mean whiskey.
Not
sorry.
Poison.
Yeah. Either way, I think it's going to work out. For the people who are hearing this and it's Monday morning or Wednesday morning where they're at, and they're like, "What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
These people are drinking. What have I tuned in for?" Can you talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So you tuned in at a really great time. It is in fact 8:00 in the morning while you're driving to work and you've dropped off your kids listening to this. And there are two grown adults who are already 2 shots of liquor deep. So welcome to your morning drive. You're very, very welcome. No, my name is Desiree. I'm the Boozy Bestie. I started my podcast about 2 years ago. And it started from my blog, which I started 11 years ago. And the blog started kind of like a love letter to myself. I used it as therapy during a difficult time. And then over the years, a lot of my girlfriends were like, I think that'd be a really great podcast. And I just was terrified of the idea of hosting a podcast. But at the same time, I have really great stories and apparently give decent advice. But I'm also heavily fueled by alcohol, and I very much tell people to make bad decisions, but conscious bad decisions. Thus, the podcast was formed.
Yeah, I mean, I think, somebody giving quote unquote bad advice, right? Because everyone always says to me, "Oh, like when are you going to become like a lifestyle or relationship coach?" I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Fucking
right?
Never.
Because my thing would be, I would be the bad influence coach, right? And like I would just be like, "Hey, chaos, go do it," So I totally get that, but I feel like people really underestimate like a friend or a bestie or a boozy bestie who gives you like not shitty advice, but like the advice you need, but you don't want to hear, right?
Right. And I've always said that, the tagline that you find on the podcast, if you go to my website, desiree-simone.com, you go there, it always talks about how I'm the friend that you call when you're going through something who's going to bring the really good bottle of tequila. So I will always be, and I feel like it's the one thing that I can definitely say I'm very proud of, is I'm a really great listener. I'm going to support you. I'm going to hear everything out. I'm going to help you with a plan of action. I promise you one of those plans of action is going to probably involve arson or me like deep diving into your ex's social. But then the moral of the story is going to be like, but you're a bad bitch and you don't need him anyway. So there you go. So it comes with like a little love and then, slight B&E.
No, you and I are so much alike. That's why I'm surprised that it took me so long to book you on this show, because I feel like there's some synergy here with the booze, with the bad advice. It's going to be fucking great.
I'm
honored to have you here. Yeah,
I think
it's amazing. And like I had a tarot reading actually on the show once, and the jester card came up, and she's like, don't panic. The jester's like the only one who could say shit to the king and not have his head cut off. So like, here we are.
Shit,
right.
That's deep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, totally. I think there's just power in, and again, like, take this with a grain of salt, everybody. Driving to work, right? Mm-hmm. You dropped your kids off, you turned on Sex Party. I should judge you.
I'm not judging you, because I listen to erotic novels while I'm in my office, and I'm literally working on Excel budget spreadsheets where I'm listening to a guy going, and I shoved my dick. And I'm like, yep, PowerPoint presentation. Let's just... So this is no judgment. Totally. This is no judgment.
This is a judgment-free zone. So you stop judging, I'll stop judging, and the whatever, right? But I do think there's power in chaotic advice, because sometimes you just have to fucking burn the shit down, right? And like you said, arson.
Burn the boats.
Yeah, exactly. You want to take the island, you better burn your fucking boats.
You gotta burn the boats. Yep.
That's so powerful, because when you have nothing left, you want whatever that is that's in front of you that's left, right? Yeah. Super amazing advice. The podcast, Break Bottles, Not Hearts. Yep. Tell me about the podcast, because I listened to a couple episodes in anticipation. It's fun. It's like you never know what you're gonna get. We love that vibe around here, right? But there is like really good, chaotic, fun advice there. So like, tell me about well, first of all, what I love to do when I have people who are brave enough to start their own creative projects, do their own podcast. It's a hard thing to do. And I feel like there's a lot of people probably listening out there now that want to do a podcast. They want to start an OnlyFans. They want to like paint sneakers, whatever their thing is, but they're terrified. So at the very, very beginning of this question, I'm going to ask you, how long did you have the idea about doing the podcast? Did you put it off because you were afraid? And what made you finally do it?
Oh, so this is such a good question. And for anybody out there who's debating about it, I really, really hope this happens for you. So the podcast was something that was brought to my attention years, and I mean like 3, 4, 5 years ago. The blog going into book form, which is something I very slowly started doing. And then the podcast. And it was always just, I don't think people listen. I'm not talented. I don't have time. I came up with a million fucking excuses. And so how the podcast actually happened was a combination of my partner and Gary Vee. Very divine intervention between the two gentlemen. And so I worship at the altar that is Gary Vee. And he's constantly talking about, just put the content out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just fucking start. You don't have to have $1 million microphone. Don't expect to get 15,000 listeners the first time. But if you have a passion for it and you love to do it, just fucking do it. And so interestingly, during COVID, I always tell people, me and my partner probably had one of the best experiences during lockdown. He was working. I was furloughed. And I had no job, but it was probably the most in sync we were as a couple, because I literally just spent my time kind of pursuing my passions. And so we would play around and mockingly do a podcast in my backyard. And then one day he was like, why the fuck aren't you doing it? Like, we've literally recorded 10 fake podcast episodes on your iPhone, on your memos, on your voice notes. Just do it. Like, just do it. And it's hard for someone like me, who's also on the other side of the whole Boozy Bestie concept. I'm also very type A, highly analytical, but I need to have this $500 microphone. I need to have this software, and I need to hire an engineer. And he was like, no, the fuck you don't. He's like, you listen to Gary Vee all the time. And that's one of the first things that Gary tells you is just go out and fucking do it. So I got to the point where I was tired of sitting here saying one day. And then one day was literally a $40 microphone with free software. And I'd never had so much fun. And it's built and it's grown. And I have a nice little tribe. I'm nowhere near Sex Party level yet.
Oh my God.
I will be that bitch one day. I'm not like, it'll literally be Dustin being like, I know that you're interviewing Chelsea Handler right now, but I want to, and I'm like, yes, come on in. Like, I'm going to pop you in while I interview Chelsea. So I'm definitely not at Sex Party level yet, but that was how it started. And, you know, I don't know if you kind of have moments like I do. I have moments where it ebbs and flows where I've posted, you know, 4 episodes in succession, 1 per week, and then there's no episode for a whole month. And I got rid of the hang up of that because I also treated it like my blog, which was I only wanted to put out really good content. And if I wasn't motivated to do so, I wasn't going to put a half-ass episode of like, here's this really crappy date I went on from Bumble. It's like, bitch, I got a story. Pour yourself a glass of wine. We're going to sit and talk about this shit. So I gave myself a little bit of grace and I started to have fun. And it's been a blast. And I've been able to meet people like Stephanie from Dirty Blondes and to finally get a chance to work with you. So yeah. So the moral of that very long rant, kids, especially for you people who are in the, you know, the parent drop off line, is if you want to do that podcast, then fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, you should just, you know, throw the headphones or microphone in the air, slam it down already. Usually it happens at the end. Somebody says something spectacular. You said it at the beginning, so we're already off to a good start.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, we are here for long rants. We are here for meaningful, boozy long rants. So
no,
like,
we're not. We're here for the good shit. We already talked about it before. Let's get to the good stuff.
We'll get to the good stuff. Trust me. But like, you know, I do want to say I've been affected by our Lord and Savior Gary V myself. He's amazing, right? And there is something to just being like, fuck it, whatever. That's number one. Number two, what is sex party level? I mean, come on. Like I've been doing this for a year and it's amazing. I haven't missed a week because I'm deranged and I won't allow myself to do it. Right.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the sex party level.
I mean, I just feel like the only thing that I can control is just how often I show up. So I just keep going. It's like, whatever, but like it will, you know, and there's a good point there because it will take over your life fast if you allow it to, right? And like someone asks you to go, hey, we're going to Miami. Oh shit, I don't have a fucking episode for and then you have to scramble and whatever. So for me, my thing was I can't miss a week. And you know, I know people who do it and they just drop one whenever they want. And I'm like, I'm kind of envious of that though, because like that is pretty cool that people can just fucking here's one this month. Maybe you'll get one in a week. Maybe you'll get one in a month. That's pretty sweet. And I think that you're right. You should just do it that way where you just fucking say fuck it and go. Whether you drop your shit whenever you feel like it or you drop it once a week like me, doesn't matter. Thank you for the compliment though. That's amazing. And
oh my God. Yeah. And then to kind of piggyback off this, because no, this is not going to be a podcast one-on-one episode. I promise you kids, it's not. But I do want to say, allow yourself that grace of being like, God, I really wish I could go to Ibiza with my friends, but I can't because I'm recording this episode. It's like, you know, in your heart that you're doing this and you have that hustle mentality because it's going to reward you and it's working for you. What is working for me is working for me. It's not going to be for everyone. But, you know, for those people who are like, oh, I really love Star Wars and I want to talk about the sexification of Star Wars in a podcast, who the fuck will listen to it? You'll be amazed. So fucking do the podcast.
Totally. Yeah.
There you go.
Do we think that Star Wars has been sexified? And if so, are we talking about Princess Leia or is it the newer stuff?
I just dropped that for the white people listening because I know shit about Star Wars. You know, and I know that it'll appeal to some people.
Yeah, and I like swore off Star Wars after that last movie. Like I can't. They just disappointed me too much. It just felt like a knife to the gut and then up, you know?
Let's unpack that. Let's talk about it.
I mean, you know, there's such a thing as anticipation and there's such a thing as like, what the fuck, man?
What just happened?
Why would you do that to all of these people who paid to get in here?
You guys are really loyal. Y'all are some really loyal diehard fans. And I appreciate that.
I can't stand Star Wars. So I cannot stand it. The one thing I do want to ask you though, to like really push into this, right, is like Boozy Bestie, right? So what is your favorite drink?
Oh, why the fuck would you? No, that's not right. That's not right. Okay. So to answer that, to give the slight background of the Boozy Bestie. So my background, so I'm like most college students who got their first job working at a bar/restaurant. So bar back, bartended, hosted events. former bartender, former bar manager, former food and beverage director, turned intense nerd over tequila and whiskey. And I've always had a love of whiskey since I was unfortunately young, because I grew up with my grandparents. My grandpa had a fabulous liquor cabinet. And his mentality was always, I'd rather you try this at home and have good shit than go outside at some fucking backyard field party and try Jim Beam and think that's the greatest. No offense to Jim Beam lovers.
Sure.
But drink Jim Beam and think that's the greatest whiskey of all time. And then, taught me how to make a proper Manhattan, taught me how to make a proper martini. So the Boozy Bestie doesn't come from she just likes to drink alcohol. I'm kind of a nerd about certain things. I love the history. Yeah. But my two loves are tequila and whiskey, and definitely bourbon. So to ask me that question, even though I don't have kids, is almost like asking me to pick my favorite child. So the best way I can answer that is I could break it down by tequila or whiskey or mood. Right. My everyday go-to drink is Jameson. Jameson's my everyday go-to. During COVID, we got into the big bottles of Jameson, and I was going through
we did.
one a week. So Jameson is my everyday cocktail. Don Julio Silver is my everyday tequila.
Okay.
Jameson's my everyday Irish whiskey specifically.
Sure.
Glenmorangie for Scotch. Uncle Nearest.
Which one are you brushing your teeth with? Probably the whiskey. That's what I would. I don't know. Tequila. I would probably go tequila.
Probably Jim Beam. Probably Jim Beam.
Okay.
And then my go-to, holy fuck, you still drink that? I have horrible experiences with it. Liquor, Jaeger.
No way, really?
Fucking love Jaeger. Oh.
Wow.
Oh God, yeah. I have a massive bottle in my freezer right now.
I feel like the rest of us probably threw that up so much that we can't smell it. I can still do it. I can still do it. I think if I combined the Red Bull with Jaeger, then I'd be in a weird flashback from 2004 or something. Right. What is happening?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so we share a love of booze. We share a love of different kinds of booze, right? I love that. I think that's fucking perfect. Which one would you say has led to the most bad decisions? If I had to guess, I'd say tequila, but you sound like a whiskey gal, so
Jaeger.
Really? Oh my God. Fuck, that's amazing. Okay, so tell me about some of these bad decisions on Jaeger.
Jaeger, because here's the thing about me and tequila, and everybody assumes it's tequila. And anytime I talk about how much I love tequila, people are like, oh, I can't do it. I had a bad experience. And I always tell people that's because you've never had good tequila and you have a tendency to shoot tequila. Tequila is not supposed to be shot. It should be consumed just like a very good scotch on the rocks or on its own. Americans, gringos, over years, the only way we could really enjoy tequila was through shooting it and doing shit like salt and lime. But for me, I really did over the years train my palate to really enjoy it. Do I still enjoy shooting tequila right now? Absolutely, I do. However, I can have a very large amount of tequila and make very good decisions. I can have 3 shots of Jaeger and I'll be making out with 4 girls by the end of the night. Guaranteed every single time.
And has it been like that your whole life with Jaeger? That's your thing. That's your kryptonite. Because for me, right, it doesn't matter what kind of tequila. I could do 2 shots, right, and you'll get normal in control, Dustin. But anything past 2 shots, hide everything.
You know, the funny thing you say about that is I have a 3-shot tequila law. For me, if I do 3, not just drinks, drinks are different, but if I do 3 shots of tequila, there is guaranteed sex.
Okay.
Guaranteed. Whether it's with myself or someone else.
Yeah. Well,
there is guaranteed I will have an orgasm some way, somehow after the third shot of tequila.
somewhere. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Somewhere.
I think that's viable. I think that works within the standards of tequila drinking. I mean, I could remember I was going through a breakup. It was really rough, right? It was that one breakup back in the day. And it's like, and I was a nightclub promoter. And so there was women everywhere, availability, all these things. And like one of my best friends is like, you know, what's your end of the night cocktail? And I'm like, well, I kind of drink throughout, but then, you know, I'll go and do like a double vodka soda and a shot of tequila. He's like, no, man. Flip that shit. Do a shot of vodka and do a double tequila soda, right? So I did that at the end of the night on a week.
Nice.
I tried it. I'm like, I'll try it for a month, right?
Nice.
Every single Saturday night, Sunday morning, I was waking up next to a woman that I had known in high school or middle school or something, like from way back in the day, right? And I'm like, this keeps happening, so I cut that shit out. So like, you know, tequila will make you start texting that old flame again, or
tequila doesn't do that. That's what Jaeger does. And Jaeger, so the thing about Jaeger, I just, again, retraining my palate.
Sure.
So now I can enjoy Jaeger as a very responsible adult who, you know, has like a savings account and a Roth IRA, like adult shit, right?
Sure.
So now I can enjoy it as an adult. But before, the things about Jaeger were always, I don't know, I loved being super ballsy. And I think it definitely helped with a lot of my confidence. But I also very much love making out with girls when I've had several shots of tequila. Tequila, Jaeger. And during that time of just really enjoying Jaeger, it was this making out with girls thing is kind of interesting because outside of that, when I'm sober, she is really cute. And so then, you know, there was enjoying that time period.
So would you say that then Jägermeister helped you discover your bisexuality or okay, well that's fucking amazing. We should cut this into a commercial and make it for, you know, the goddamn Jägermeister.
Hi,
would love that.
I'm Desiree Simone and I love Jaeger. Let me tell you why.
I love women and I love Jaeger because Jaeger makes me love women.
And it is Women's International Month. So Jaeger fucking sponsor us.
No, that's actually really amazing because I feel like a lot of people be like, you know, maybe in college or on spring break, I had a couple shots of, you know, whatever.
On the board during Kwanzaa, during St. Patrick's Day, it didn't matter.
Okay, so were you making out with girls with no Jaeger involved, or did it take in the beginning?
It was always Jaeger. Jaeger did that.
Really?
Jaeger did
this
that.
This is fascinating.
Jaeger did that.
Let's push in on this a little bit. We've discovered a nugget of truth. This is very valuable. This will help a lot of people.
Jaeger did that. Jaeger and the movie Showgirls did that.
Okay, the movie. See, this is a deep cut, right? When everybody asks me what my favorite scary movie is, I always say Showgirls.
Whoa. Okay, whoa. We are about to like. Wait a minute. Because I'm like a borderline horror film like nerd, but I need you to define why Showgirls is a scary movie for you.
Well, no one has picked up on this, but when they ask Randy in Scream 2, what's your favorite scary movie? Before he gets pulled into the van, he says Showgirls. So I always say that, and no one picks up that I'm just repeating the line from Randy.
Oh my God!
All of these horror fans are like, that's so funny. I'm like, no, it's the line from Scream 2. So you just figured it out. So Easter egg. Prize for you.
Literally so right now, guys, for driving, you've dropped off your kids, you're going to Starbucks to get your wife a coffee. I'm doing like the mind blown emoji right now. Oh my God.
Yeah. They're Googling Showgirls right now on their phone.
Yeah. You realize after this, I'm going to go and like Google it. And then actually I'm probably just going to put Scream 2 on right now.
What a great film. I just saw the 6th one. We won't give any spoilers. It's amazing. Everybody go see it.
Is it really?
I think so. We can debate that. I think so, though.
Okay.
I think it's good.
I trust
okay. So Showgirls and Jaeger. combined brought out your feelings for women, your sexual desires for women. That is amazing. That is such a fucking 90s thing. That is so great. Well, actually late 90s, early 2000s.
I know. And everyone's probably listening, and the people watching, they're like, early 90s, but she looks like she's 22. Thank you.
You do look very young.
Compliment. But I'm 43.
You do not look 43 at all whatsoever.
Because I have 0 kids.
This is the thing. And I've been having this conversation around the show a lot too, right? Like this pressure. Do you still get pressure to have like, oh, you still got some time, Desiree? Like, do you still get that from everybody?
I don't get it so much now because at this point, everyone, family, friends, colleagues, they know that's like the standard for me of that shit's not happening. And more importantly, I also have amazing parents who were like, we just want you to be happy. We kind of figured a few years ago we weren't going to be grandparents. But for them, they're like, but
when all these women were coming over.
When there was girls, when it was like, Mom, I went to a sex club with my boyfriend.
Empty bottles of Jaeger behind the garage.
Right. She was like, so there's a condom and there's a bong and there's Jaeger. And I'm like, but his name is Kevin. And so I think they definitely knew that. But at the same time, so sorry. At the same time, my parents were also like, we just want you to be happy. And when you do become rich and famous, we would like to be in a really nice house.
Yeah. That's an even trade. That's a fair trade. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like there's more anti-children people now, and it's almost like become like a fun thing to be anti-kid. Because I love my niece, and I love, my nephew, and then I don't really care. I don't really care outside that. Yeah.
Like other people's kids, fuck that. I have a goddaughter and a godson, which is depressing to say this out loud because my goddaughter is 20 and my godson is 18. So the fact that those numbers register, but that also means they're at that really great age where they're like, hey, Aunt Des. And I'm like, yes. So gun oil is amazing. And it is, in fact, your friend. And if you ever want extra bottles when you come visit, I got you. So. Right.
Yeah. And they're like, will you buy us some Jaeger?
Yes, I did.
Well, I mean, I think all of these things like that lead us to, there's always these little clues, right? The anti-kid stuff, the showgirls, the Jaeger, right? I feel like there's all those
out with girls.
Very right. And like, there's those signs that once people reach a certain age, like, well, I'm too old for that. I used to make out with girls. And then 20, 30 years later, they have one too many cocktails at the reunion. They start eyeballing fucking,
Ooh, yeah.
So I think if people would pay attention more to those signs, all of the signs that we're saying, like maybe I don't want kids, maybe I love women and men, all of those things, I feel like that would lead to a much better, much more fun life, right? And it sounds like you paid attention to those signs.
I really did. One of the things that, especially with kind of the redirection that I've recently taken with my brand, the blog, and the podcast, is I've looked back at my 20s and my 30s. And let's be honest, kids, if you're listening, your 30s are a fun extension of your 20s. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, okay? Don't feel pressure to do this. Be married at a certain age, pop out a couple of kids. Oh my God, I need to have the $70,000 job. No, 35 is really like 27 and a half. So like, have a great time with it. But I've looked back at that time period of like my 20s, my 30s, and I've been like, okay, so now we're in our 40s. We're responsible as fuck. But at the same time, we can look and enjoy those memories and still have a version of that can wake up in the morning and go to work and pay bills and still have an existence that doesn't feel like it has to be, this is a cookie cutter life that you had to have had by this age. And if you didn't, by society standards, you're a failure.
Yeah. I mean, society's falling apart. So what do they know?
I don't fucking know.
Right. I mean, look, come on. Like there are these very unrealistic things, like the pressure to have kids, the pressure to have a certain job by a certain whatever. And it's like, I think it's so funny because there's like all these people who make a living off YouTube, who make a living off podcasting, who make a living off all these things. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was like, you better get a real job, slacker. Like what, like
That is the real job.
Now, yeah, exactly. And I think that those signs present themselves very early on, like sexually, emotionally, like what you should be doing for a job. Like I always knew I wanted to do something creative. I knew I'd have to like fucking eat shit for a while to like pull it off. But like, you take your suffering like where you can get it. That way you can live some sort of a life, and nothing's perfect. And I love that you're watching Showgirls and you're downing bottles of Jaeger and you're having sex with Kevin when you're younger and like doing all the things. I think it's amazing. So what can people expect? Because you did say relaunch or rebrand a second ago.
Yep.
What can people expect with your show? Because when I listened, I was like, this is fun. This is laid back, two things I like, but also like, it's almost like in the middle of every episode, it's sort of, you unlock this sort of gem of truth, which is really fucking cool. Right. And some episodes are long, some episodes are short, and it has that element of chaos like my show does, which is why I wanted you on. But what would you say? Give us like the elevator pitch of like what the show is. What can people expect?
Yeah. So the elevator pitch of it is kind of like what I said before, which was, I've always been the really great friend that you call when you need advice, who's going to bring you the really good bottle of tequila.
Right.
And we're going to walk through some things. And I'm also the friend who's going to be like, yeah, and I think it's a horrible idea. You should not go back to this person. This person did you wrong. I'm going to also come from the practical, here's some really great advice I got. I'm going to refer you to a Gary Vee video. I'm going to tell you a book to read. I'm going to be like, I love this podcast. They give you good insights. Now, all the while I'm doing this, I've already given you your third shot of tequila. So like there's some underhandedness involved so that by the end of the night, when you've cried your heart out and you've said you're going to make change, I'm going to be like, great, bitch, I'm super proud of you. Let's go to the club.
Exactly.
So, and if we're not going to the club, then we're going to rest and we're going to do a bottomless mimosa brunch the next day. And I'm a firm believer, and it's actually one of the many tattoos that I have. I'm a firm believer in we're going to be emotional. We're going to cry it out tonight, but tomorrow is a brand new motherfucking day. So that's kind of how I've approached a lot of the rebranding, where we're going to focus on personal development. We're going to focus on, I'm tired of feeling small. I'm tired of kind of like what I mentioned with the podcast. I'm going to do it one day. No, one day is today. We're going to do it today. And if we need a little bit of liquid courage, I'm going to recommend a really great vodka. If I don't know it, I'm going to tell Dustin, and Dustin's going to be like, I got a really good vodka for you. But more importantly, I'm going to push you and I'm going to kick your ass, because I've seen the benefit of people who have been like, Desiree, you're way too talented. You're way too smart. And what the fuck are you waiting for? And I'm happy to be that person to be like, you're way too funny. You're way too talented. And what the fuck are you waiting for?
Yeah, I mean that's incredible, because all of that is true, and you can tell like from like even just like your social media, where like you're going out and everybody who's on the show always has like a really good like social media reels game and all of that stuff. But like you're going out, you're doing it, you're like trying certain foods, you're trying certain drinks. There's an element of humor to it. There's an element of sexuality to it, and I think that stuff is like really hard to fake. Like you can't fake. You can't fake your sexuality and your humor. I always try to say something along those lines, right? Yeah. And that's how it's coming out of my mouth today.
No, that's right.
You really can. There are certain things you can fake. Friendliness, fucking lying through your teeth, sure. But like your sexuality, your humor are really, really difficult. And you do a really great job of like presenting those as is and being like, oh, and by the way, you should listen to this or do this or whatever. One of the things around this show is when we were approaching the 1 year anniversary of Sex Party, I got a couple messages where people were like, hey, thanks for helping me this year with my dating game. And I'm like, oh, no, you're not supposed to take my advice. And they're like, but listen to the experts. Don't right.
Don't do as I say.
Right. I'm like, wait a minute, you're listening to this for but then I'm like, oh, okay, the experts. And they're like, no, but like the way that you approached it, I'm like, I wouldn't, but to me that meant so much. Right. And because I was trying to like just have a good time and like really focus on the guests. And I think that, there's just certain things that will come out and come across in the way somebody talks, the way somebody, and I had to realize that about myself. And I see a ton of that on your show, which is really, really cool. So doing your show and doing it for as long as you've done it, because you've done it for a while, right?
Yep. Almost 2 years. Yep.
See, that's congratulations. Because in podcast years, that's like 35 years. So,
but in reality, like time wise, as far as if you're looking at episodes, it's probably like literally like 6 fucking months or something. But
but time and space don't exist in podcast.
It does not exist in podcast land.
Like right now, as we're recording this, simultaneously in the future, some AI is like putting this out. You know what I mean? Yes. So like, whatever. It's a whole big fucking thing. Yeah. Well, on the show, what are the biggest things? I would say, okay, what are the biggest like issues like with dating and relationships that you're coming across on the show with the people you're talking to? If you're out there dating, right? Like what would you say are the biggest like hang-ups with dating and relationships?
Oh God, first off, my heart goes out to y'all right now because it's such a fucking shit show.
It really is.
I'm so sorry. Like, lock yourself down with a partner and then like just try to make that shit work, because I'm seeing things and my heart really goes out to y'all because it's really a shit show. And I think honestly, social media is the biggest thing that's just making it really, really bad. Because for the few girlfriends, a lot of my girlfriends are in relationships, committed relationships, marriages, or processes of going through divorce. So that's kind of my friend group. But for the few who are dating, I'm seeing their Tinder profiles. I'm seeing their Bumble profiles. I'm seeing the connection. And I don't know why, after years of the show Catfish being on TV, why people still aren't doing the whole, oh, here's his Tinder profile. I don't think he has social media. Bitch, I've already found his Instagram, his fake Instagram, his Twitter. Like, you've got to investigate these guys and girls before you ever meet them, because that's where you're going to find the dirt. Mm-hmm. And so I think social media has been helpful and has been really harmful, because it's really easy to fake the funk on an Instagram page, on a Twitter page. Here's where I work. This is me vacationing in South Beach. This is me with this person. Bitch, no the fuck it's not. Mm-hmm. You are a manager at a daggone Wendy's. You still live with your mom. You've never had like a proper martini before. You drink White Claws and call that shit classy. Like, get all the way the fuck out of my face. Mm-hmm. And then unfortunately for girls, I love you. I'm not a traitor to my sex, but we have got to chill out with these filters. I need y'all. These filters, the filter game is insane. And you have no right to be pissed off with a guy or girl who meets you in public and is like, you look nothing like your photos. No, Bianca, you don't look like your photos because you used a smiley face filter, you used a bold glamour filter on TikTok, and then you went to an AI website to update that photo and you want to carry that off. That's like you. Bitch, no the fuck it's not. Present your real self and you might get some real partners.
So one, that bold glamour thing on TikTok is fucking
crazy.
Yeah. That is that's probably the most dangerous thing that I've seen on social media yet. And I've been alive through all of this stuff.
I actually made a TikTok and it's been sitting in my drafts and I was like, I don't think I want to post this because it's just like, how much work did I get? Like the But not only that, like I look amazing. Don't get me wrong. I look great in the filter, but I was just like, yeah, if I took a photo of that and I put that as like my Bumble profile, I'm pretty sure a guy would kick my ass if he met me in public and was like, you don't look like this at all.
I totally did that to someone once. I on my Bumble, this is back in like 2017, 2018. Mm-hmm. I had a photo of me like super fit, like in a suit in the night during the nightclub stuff. And it was from 2010. Right. And I just like, this is a good photo of me. And then we met. Right. And she was still into it, but she's like, hey, that's not cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I still think you're hot and like, whatever, but like, that's not cool. I've totally done that.
How long ago was this photo?
Yeah. I mean, I think that photo was like 7 or 8 years old. Right. Mm-hmm. So like, whoops, but like people do it. I mean, it was definitely on purpose, but no, I don't know. I just kind of threw it up there. I didn't have any good photos at the time. We were going through some shit. Okay, guys, whatever. I mean, but you're right. Like the filter stuff. You know, the one thing you said about social media. So I really want to get this straight because this is interesting and it's actually on my questions list over here. Do you think, because there seem to be two camps of people, and I haven't asked that in a while, so this is great to ask you because this will be fun. Social media, right? Do you think it is actually social media's fault for people cheating, or are people just using social media to cheat?
The latter.
Okay.
You are using social media to cheat. It is not social media's fault. It is not, the gun is not what killed a person. The person pulling the trigger is what killed the person. So you are using social media to cheat. And then you're sitting here and being like, but if I didn't have a Facebook, no, I'm sorry, Mark. If you hadn't, then Brittany would never have known. And I apologize for the couple, Mark and Brittany, who are in fact listening to this podcast. Mark is a lovely guy. Brittany, don't freak out.
Well, I hope Mark and Brittany can like and subscribe. You know, they can give us our flowers. Like, come on, guys, for once, let's go.
Sorry, I called you out.
No, I think it's great, but because that comes up a lot around the show for me. It hasn't in a while because I think I threw gasoline on this fire a couple times. But fuck it, let's do it again. You have whiskey, I have vodka. So I think
we can start a fire. People
are like, no, my boyfriend or my girlfriend cheated because it's social media's fault. It's just too accessible. It's too easy. I'm like, do you realize what you're saying? No. Because people used to cheat with personal ads all the time. Mm-hmm. Don Draper had 5 families. Yeah.
If you like pina colada is literally a song about cheating because he put a personal ad. I mean, kids, I need you to go back. I need you to listen to the song and I need you to actually look at the lyrics. He put a want ad to find another partner while he was dating with someone else. And you think it's a fun, happy karaoke bar song. Yeah. But he was cheating in a personal ad. That's what our grandparents did back in the day.
Yeah, they did. And before that, it was something else and then so on and so forth.
A telegraph.
Exactly. So what would be the advice to people who are blaming social media for their partners dipping on them?
I think the very first thing you have to understand is you have to get out of that mentality of, but it's my fault. I did something wrong. First and foremost, you didn't. If your partner was going to cheat, they were always going to cheat. Mm-hmm. To have them use that as an excuse is a feeble attempt of them trying to blame something else rather than take ownership. And you have to understand that. This is them trying to make social media the scapegoat, which only makes it worse, which should, in retrospect, make it that much easier for you to be like, well, then I need to step away. Because if you can't even own up, I'm going to much respect the person who's like, you know what, you caught me. I've been feeling this kind of way. I'm sorry. Boom, this isn't going to work. Cool, I can respect that. But if you're going to sit here and be like, no, she slid in my DMs first and it was just liking a couple of photos, bro, your excuses are lame and I need you to get out.
Yeah, for real. And okay, and while we're on that, right, let's air it all out. How do we feel about partnered couple, right? A man and a woman.
Don't say it.
The man is liking other women's photos. Is this disrespectful or is this, because this is a hot button issue?
So it's funny. I thought you were actually going to say something else, and I was going to be like,
well, we'll circle back. We'll circle back to that.
Cringe. So the partner liking other photos. I have to say, I think it's in the context of what the photos are. If you're liking a bunch of OnlyFans type photos, But I have plenty of guy friends who are single or married who are liking photos of me having a mimosa, fully clothed. And then they're also liking the video of me hosting a bikini competition for Bike Week. And then they also like photos of me on a beach. Like there's a wide spectrum. But if there was that one guy who it was always the beach pic, it was always the lingerie pic, that's the guy that you kind of, but in the context of what someone's liking, and then the same goes for women. I can sit here. I know plenty of my married and guys who are in relationships that I'm going to like an array of photos. But if I'm just noticing, wow, he's always on the beach, shirtless, workout, gym photo, those kind of photos that if my partner were to say, wow, you're really into his physique, that's where it's a little sus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, right? If it's all ass, if it's all abs, right? We changed one letter. If it's all abs, if it's all ass, yeah, abs and ass. If it's all abs and ass, then right, true. But if it's like someone eating pizza or something, or like diet tips or whatever the fuck, I get it.
Don't think the harm in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think I was going to ask you? What was the cringy?
Oh gosh, the cringy was. You started off by saying, what if a couple or what if they're a partner? And I was going to think, oh my God, please don't. Those people that have the couple pages where it's like Michelle and David, you know, such and such last name, and they have like a joint Facebook or Instagram.
And the best part is like, I will keep tabs and I'll keep going back to see if they broke up, right?
Right.
This page is no longer available. Like, yeah.
It just says Michelle.
David, he's like crying, whatever. Yeah.
And the thing is, and what's funny about that is it goes to the first part of your question, which was they'll do those couple pages so that they're both online together so they can both keep tabs on the other person. Which is so screwed up.
Yeah, if there's no trust there, then why are you committing to a relationship?
But I'm going to commit to a couple's Facebook and Instagram account.
It's so bad. It's almost as bad as people who make like Instagram pages for their dogs.
They take that shit real serious. I have a couple of friends who have that, and every once in a while I'll see that their dog has liked one of my photos, and I'm like,
Oh no, the dog is liking your photos?
I know the dog doesn't like my photo. He doesn't have opposable thumbs.
Or they talk in dog language, like as the dog in the captions.
No. Thank God my friends don't like that, but it'll be like so and so pup has liked your photo, and I'm like,
what?
Thanks, Tara. I know that was you. Wink, wink.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Giggles, the puppy. Right. Whatever.
I give more grace to those people than I do for the joint Facebook pages. And I have a really good friend who has one. She knows that this is a thing for me. I love you if you're listening, but like, girl, you know that gets under my skin.
I think they're tied, in my opinion. I probably would give the edge to the couples that are more they're more cringy to me than the dogs. But like, what are you guys doing? Like engagement, you're sucking up all this air. Like, get out of here.
You're doing that because you are saying to the world, I do not trust my partner having their own page. I'm sorry, but you are. That's exactly what you're doing. You're doing that because you're saying, I don't trust my partner. You're not giving me any other. And I've spoken to several couples about this. You're not giving me any valid reason for two human beings having the same social media profile. You're just not.
Yeah. And you're saying like, if Chester over here, whose face is pressed up against mine, if he DMs you, call us, send me a fucking message here so I can know that he's fucking around. Like, that's what you're saying. Like, I don't trust this person. We're going to get into a fight in an Applebee's parking lot Friday at 10:30, probably. You know, a couple of those.
It's always Applebee's though.
It really is. I've actually been in a couple fights at Applebee's.
It's either an Applebee's or a Chili's.
Chili's comes up a lot on this show, to be honest with you, because I just think Chili's is the corniest place ever. You know, I can stand Applebee's. I think it's good. They have a good burger, some chicken fingers, some strong drinks, right? But when you go there on a date, I think you know, you want to get in and out. It's Friday night. Maybe it's like a fucking throwaway kind of thing. And it's like two for 20 or whatever it is. Right. If you're at the Applebee's stage in your relationship, that's fine. Right. But like you start hitting the strong drinks and then stuff starts flowing out.
We're going to start bringing up stuff from 4 months ago. And as women, we're really good about keeping receipts. So after that third margarita, guess what, Brad? Yeah, I saw that you liked that girl's photo.
She messaged the joint account, Brad. God damn it. And somebody like, you know, usually they're like, why the fuck am I at an Applebee's on a Friday night, Brad? Why are we here for 2 for 20, you motherfucker? And that's where it goes south.
Am I not worth more than a 2 for a 20?
Can you at least take me to Chili's?
Am I not a Longhorns girl? Am I not a shout out Olive Garden girl? Clearly I'm not, Brad. And that's why we have a joint account.
That's so crazy too, because that's exactly how it is. And I mean, like dating is hard enough, right? And like, you know, I've been unfairly biased towards like dating apps and all of that shit because I just feel like they want to sell us stuff. But like, truly, it's like I have a certain way I feel about it, and everybody knows that watches the show or listens to the show. Like, okay, here he goes on the dating apps again. So we'll save it, right? So, but I want to get your opinion. Are you using dating apps? Do you recommend dating apps? Are they poison? Are they helpful?
I think dating apps are what they are. At the surface level, you know what you're getting. So you really can't take them very seriously. I will also say in the same breath that one of my last long-term relationships was the second ever Tinder date I ever went on in my entire life.
Okay.
So I opened up Tinder. I went on a date with a guy and it didn't work. The second Tinder date, I went on the date with a guy and I ended up being with him for 2 years.
Wow.
So there you go. Did he in fact horribly cheat on me? Yes, he did. But it was also a 2-year relationship. But then also being on and off dating apps, they are what they are. And honestly, I've used it, especially having a dating and relationship blog and podcast. I used it, as I like to call it, for, you know, scientific research. Because I would purposely be like, let's change the age requirement. Let's change the geography. Let's meet up with the girlfriends, have a couple of shots of tequila and have fun and just watch the DMs come in. And I was like, you guys can't be this stupid. You really 100% can't. And then I also found it very interesting because I've always been brutally honest on my profiles. And I would then eventually meet guys and they were like, oh, I'm shocked you really like whiskey and you're so knowledgeable in this. I was like, no, because I'm not going to fucking lie to you. Let's go ahead and get this interview portion out of the way and then get to the nitty gritty. And then I was also always amazed at how many guys lied about their ages.
Really?
Yeah.
That is weird.
It was really weird. There was a lot of guys who made themselves out to be a lot older. And I was like, yeah. There'd be a guy who's like, yeah, I'm 27. And I'm like, okay, you kind of look 27. And then you go on the date, you poke around and you find out he's like 22. And
wow, that's weird.
It was very, very bizarre.
Yeah.
So I think if you can honestly use dating apps for the entertainment purposes that they are, then you're safe. But, you know, again, shout out to the people who find the rare diamond in a rough. And I was one of them who found a happy 2-year relationship that unfortunately just ended. Blech.
Well, sorry to hear about that.
No, it's fine. He's probably listening anyway.
Well, hey, whoever you are, like and subscribe to both shows. Thank you. So is your dating app of choice still Tinder? Did you move over to Bumble? Are we on Hinge? What's going on?
I was on Hinge for like 2 seconds and it just seemed way too fucking complicated. And I was like, I don't know, it's way too much work. Yeah. I'm a Tinder Bumble girl. And like, I was riding Bumble pretty hard. Like that was my shit because I'm such a Leo and very much in the whole, I would like to be the queen of my throne and I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. So Bumble was very much my shit. But Tinder was always the thing that I did around all my girlfriends where we would always play what we called Tinder bingo. And it was like, okay, all of us would pull up our phones. We'd all pull up Tinder. We'd give ourselves certain requirements. And the first person to find a guy holding a fish has got to do a shot. So it was always, Tinder was really entertaining. But Bumble would be the one that I was like, okay, I would actually meet you in person.
Okay. Yeah, no, that tracks on my end too, because when I was on the dating apps, when I was single, Tinder turned into like a big fucking mess. Like I would say right around 2018.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Dumpster
And
fire.
then Bumble was like, I gotta be honest though, Bumble seemed like it turned into a cash grab in 2020, I think. So it's just like very like, even if you pay for the premium, which is well worth it. Bumble, you can still sponsor the show, right?
We love you, Bumble. I'm
there's
telling
an
you, I'm all
opportunity
about
here.
it.
Yeah.
Or both of our shows. So you can get us together. If you want
Yeah.
us together, we'll actually give you a really good deal. So please
we
DM
will do a
both of
package
us.
deal. Yes.
We will
Even
do
if
a
you have a
package
startup
deal.
dating app, we can talk.
We do. Absolutely.
Show us the money.
We should. Desiree and Dustin, the D&D show. Boom.
Totally. It does not stand for Dungeons and Dragons.
It
It's
does
Desiree
not stand for Dungeons and Dragons.
So we're nearing the end of the episode. It is Sex Party. You are in Florida, right? I've had a lot of guests that are in Florida, and I feel like sex clubs are a prevalent thing down in Florida. Not that they're not anywhere else, but I feel like you guys are more like open to it. So are you like more like open to talking about it, which is weird.
God, yeah.
I mean, which is great. I love it. We love weird.
Nah, Florida's not a real state, so we can do everything down there.
It's another dimension for sure.
It really is.
Yeah. So sex clubs, are we fans of sex clubs? Are you going to sex clubs? Can you give us a story about a sex club? Or are you not? Is that not your thing?
We are pregnant pause. We're fans of sex clubs. We have not gone to one in a really long time. And I actually haven't gone to any here in Florida. I've gone to one that I absolutely love in Atlanta and one in New Orleans. And so we are definitely fans. When I say we, I'm referring to myself and my vagina. But we are fans. We are fans of sex clubs. And here's what I've always said. And I remember, and yes, I did have this conversation with my mother. I remember telling her the first time I ever went to, shout out to Trapeze in Atlanta. Please feel free to sponsor me.
Okay.
The first time I ever went
they've been brought up on this show.
Yeah?
Yeah. By someone else in Florida. Yeah. So Trapeze, yes.
Trapeze is shout out to Trapeze. Like I've been several times, but I've never had a bad experience. And so one of the things that I've always said, not just about Trapeze, but any other place that I've ever been to, like I said, I've done mostly Georgia, New Orleans. I've not done any in Florida. What I've always said, and this was the very first conversation I had with my mom, which was, I know, because I tell her fucking everything. Because she was definitely concerned and had shocks of horror and was like, oh my God, my baby girl. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I need you to understand, it's not like I had a train ran on me or anything like that. I was with someone who I was dating. We had very serious ground rules. He made me feel comfortable from the moment we left. And I'd say every hour was like, how are you doing? Like there was this great check-in. But what was so amazing about it, about the sex club, and then I've also done nudist and swingers events, is that it's not at all what a lot of people would assume. There's so much genuine openness, care and concern for your partner, people who are generally there just to have an amazing time. It is not some gangbang fest of something that you'd see off of Pornhub where people are being disrespectful and there's jizz everywhere. I remember literally the first time I ever went to Trapeze and we're going towards the back bar section. And by this time, there's like a front area that you have to be unrobed when you go to the back. And I remember going back there and I'm at the bar and I'm with my boyfriend at the time and we're having conversations with someone who is a city legislator and a teacher as a wife. And I remember sitting here thinking, when else would I have ever had these conversations with these people who are, by the way, completely naked in front of me, just like me? It was just people just enjoying the atmosphere that they were around. Was there someone getting a blowjob to my immediate left? Yes, there was. But it wasn't in this weird context of like, oh, let's all look and just gawk at this person. No, it was, so yeah, right now the fucking Falcons defense is shit. Like, I don't know about you, but my fantasy is just like real. I'm not kidding you. Me and the husband and my boyfriend at the time were talking about fantasy football. And then his wife was commenting. I forgot what wig or weave I had on all the time, but his wife was commenting on my hair. And then, 40 minutes later, me and my boyfriend and another couple in another room. So.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's what people, I mean, you nailed it, right? Like, you can do raunchy shit, right? Yeah. But you're safer going to a place where the environment is controlled. People have been vetted. Yeah.
You're so much safer. And not to mention, this is going to sound really weird and fucked up, but I would much rather, if I had this conversation with my mother, if I had my 20-something-year-old daughter tell me I went with my boyfriend, who I'm safe, who I've been tested with, in this safe environment, I would feel more, not only that, the safe environment where there are people working there to ensure your safety. I feel more comfortable for her doing that than her being like, I'm going to Grill Jamaica on a girl's spring break at 18. Fuck that shit. That's not happening.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look hard enough, there's always someone getting a blowjob to your immediate left, no matter where you are, right?
I live in Panama City Beach, Florida, and it is currently spring break, and I'm pretty sure I can get in my car and find a sidewalk BJ somewhere.
Yeah, it's like it's everywhere.
Pretty much.
In the movie theater, in the grocery store. Just start looking, people. Desiree Simone, thank you so much for being here on Sex Party with me. Let's make sure that they know where they can find you online, hang out with you, where they can binge all of your episodes.
Of course. So you can go and check out the website, Desiree-Simone.com, and that's DESIREE. SIMONE. I always tell people it's Desiree, like you spelled desire with an extra E at the end. There you go. And then Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter at I am D Simone. And then the podcast is Break Bottles Not Hearts. You can listen on Apple or Spotify.
Yeah, no, and it's fucking amazing. It's a great, I mean, people know that I only put my stamp of approval and have people on the show that are incredible. I would love to have you back. If you
we're coming back.
Yeah, I feel like we need to do a part 2. So
we're coming back.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to do a drinking game. I've done a couple of podcasts where because I'm a giver. I'll send the podcast host booze. Yeah. And we'll do like a truth or dare drinking game. So I think we need to do a drinking game.
I would absolutely love to do that. I have some other ideas for like some other projects we could do. That'll be great. I'm glad that
I want to talk about the racism. And like, fuck that. We're not doing that.
We can do whatever you like. You can do whatever you like, but you're coming back. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
We will totally talk soon. Big thank you to my guest this week and my new friend, Desiree Simone, for being on the show with me. She will be back. Don't worry. It'll be sooner than you think for another round. I promise. If you're appreciating guests like Desiree, if you want more guests like Desiree, if you are still loving the show, you want more Sex Party. Okay. How do you show that love, that desire, that appreciation? If you're listening to this show on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you can subscribe to the show. That is the most important part, to subscribe to the show. You can leave a rating. You can leave a review. If you're listening on YouTube, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. You can like the video. You can subscribe. You could leave a comment. You can do any of these things. You don't have to do a single one. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Catch me in the DMs on Instagram, and I will see you back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin at Dustin Rybka.